When a mafia princess stood on that bridge ready to jump, I was the only bystander, and I just smirked and urged her on. Sis, are you jumping or what? I am in a major rush. How about I go first? Oh, and after I leap, make sure you find another bridge. Hearing that, the girl looked totally lost. Why? Why would she have to find a different bridge? I answered without even blinking or skipping a beat. See, the Grim Reapers have a strict quota for collecting souls. If they run out of slots, it is way too easy to get labeled as a wandering spirit just to close the file. That would be an absolute disaster. Our souls would be tangled up for all eternity. The girl just stared, completely stunned. Taking advantage of her distraction, I suddenly bolted forward, lunged at her, and slapped her hard. I am warning you, if you want to end it, pick another day. Today, you stay alive like a good girl because I already saved you. Vesper, respect the fruits of my labor. Seriously, you know me. Vesper clutched her cheek, staring at me in complete shock. I wiped the rain off my face, annoyed, and shouted that I was her classmate. We are both sophomores. My name is Ronan. Where do you live? I will take you back. Vesper just shook her head blankly. She refused to go home. Ever since her mother passed away, that house was not a home anymore. Suddenly, her nose tingled and the tears just started spilling over. I let out a soft sigh. My place is not far. Come back with me. 2.5 minutes later, I pushed open my front door, grabbed some slippers, and set them down for Vesper. Put these on, I told her, before heading into my bedroom. Standing by the entrance, Vesper quickly scanned the apartment. Hanging on the wall was a photo of me in a basketball jersey, grinning wide and holding an MVP trophy. Vesper studied the picture and felt an instant wave of relief. That bright smile practically screamed, "Decent guy." Just then, I walked back out carrying some fresh t-shirts and shorts. I handed them to Vesper and pointed toward the bathroom. Go wash up first. Make sure you get clean. Hearing that, Vesper froze. What did I mean by get clean? I knit my brows and asked, if you do not get clean, how are we supposed to do what comes next? Leaving her with that bombshell, I turned and walked off. Vesper stood there, completely stunned. Wait, what next? Was this guy actually decent? Panic set in as Vesper darted her eyes toward the exit. Should she just make a run for it right now? Right then, an awful smell drifted up from her body. She glanced down at herself. Her clothes were utterly drenched, clinging to her skin and dripping water, covered in thick mud. The stench was honestly repulsive. Vesper hesitated. Should she run? Or should she wash up? 15 minutes later, Vesper tilted her head back under the warm shower stream, letting the water soothe her skin. She figured she was a total genius. Seriously, showering and escaping did not conflict at all. She could easily clean up and then bolt. After a quick wash, she dried her hair, threw on the oversized t-shirt I had given her, and quietly cracked the bathroom door open to tiptoe outside. Suddenly, a voice called out behind her, offering noodles. Vesper froze, slowly turning to find me at the dining table with a hot, steaming bowl ready. She gulped. She swallowed hard. Having starved all day, the rich aroma of fresh scallions and fried eggs was just too much for Vesper to resist. Almost like she was possessed, she drifted over and sat across from me, forcing a weak smile as I studied her closely. All clean? Yeah. Did you wash thoroughly? Pretty much, I guess. Good. Then I am going to get squeaky clean too. Leaving her with a slightly unsettling, knowing smile, I stood up and made my way to the bathroom. Something was definitely off. Vesper's eyes widened in sheer panic. He cared way too much about her being clean. She had to get out. But those noodles smelled so incredibly good. Vesper aggressively wiped her mouth. So, did she run? Or did she eat first? 10 minutes later, she was practically inhaling it. It tasted exactly like her mother's cooking, and her chopsticks just would not stop. With every bite, her confidence grew. She was an absolute genius. Eating and escaping did not conflict in the slightest. She could totally finish the meal and then run. As the warm food filled her stomach, her spirits lifted. Humans are complicated creatures. It is always hard to explain how their minds work. Just an hour ago, Vesper felt like there was nothing left for her, and she was desperate to end it all. But now, after surviving a brush with death, taking a warm shower, and downing a hot bowl of savory noodles, Vesper suddenly realized the world was not actually that terrible. There were still plenty of reasons to stick around. She did not want to die anymore. Plus, her opinion of me had totally shifted. This guy had to be decent, right? But wait, back on that bridge, what actually gave him the right to slap her? Even my mother never laid a hand on me. Suddenly, with a soft click, the bathroom door swung open. Oh, Vesper froze, chopsticks hovering midair. Wait, 2 minutes and he is already done? Are guys really this fast? If so, did he even wash himself clean? She nervously looked up, full of dread. and then she completely froze. Just a second ago, she saw me as some giant dude with messy hair, wearing ugly black-rimmed glasses and looking totally forgettable. But now, fresh out of the shower, those glasses were gone. Wet hair pushed back, showing off a sharp jawline and a flawless forehead. He looked incredibly handsome, with striking eyes and perfectly defined features. I looked ridiculously good. Like an entirely different guy. Without thinking, she bit her bottom lip. He is insanely attractive, and he actually knows how to cook. That is a 99.9% guarantee he is a good guy. I sat down right across from her. Vesper swallowed hard. Severe social anxiety had plagued her since childhood, making any kind of conversation a massive struggle. Still, sitting here in dead silence felt worse. She carefully tried to speak. She asked if my parents were away. I nodded. They run a business in Africa, only visiting a few times a year. I usually just live by myself. After I said those words, the thick silence returned, and neither of us dared to make another single peep. Awkwardly, Vesper looked away. For someone with her anxiety, just exchanging those few basic sentences had completely drained her battery. But she knew exactly what I was about to ask. We went to the same school, so I surely knew her background. A rich Aries girl hitting rock bottom? Nobody could resist that kind of gossip. Surely he would ask why she tried to end her life, then lecture her with some preachy advice. Right? But her family's dangerous mafia secrets were strictly off-limits. So, Vesper quickly cooked up a fake story, bracing herself for my questions. She turned back, trying to look confident. Right on cue, I was tapping my fingers on the table, watching her intensely. You're fed, you're clean. Now, it's time to get some sleep. Vesper recoiled instantly, all the color draining from her face. Sleep? I just nodded, yeah. Her mind started spinning. What did he mean by sleep? Shouldn't there be some kind of transition first? She was drowning in instant, heavy regret. Vesper secretly kicked herself. She really shouldn't have eaten those noodles. She should have run when she had the chance. Staring at me in panic, she wondered if he was actually a creep. Meanwhile, I just yawned. My entire day had been an absolute nightmare. Morning spent reserving a private room, buying a cake, picking up roses. Afternoon spent organizing everything for my classmates. By nightfall, Laurel brutally stood me up, crushing my heart in front of everyone. Then came a grueling 2-hour walk in the pouring rain, leaving me completely drenched. On top of that, I had to save the school beauty queen, Vesper, from jumping into a freezing river. To be honest, I was completely exhausted to the bone. I just wanted to close my eyes and sleep like an absolute log tonight. Tomorrow would feel a whole lot better. Wearily, I waved my hand, quickly laying out the sleeping arrangements. My parents locked their master bedroom. The living room couch is way too small, and the cold-tiled floor is out of the question. So, the only place left to sleep is my bedroom. One of us gets the bed, the other takes the floor. Move it, because I am practically sleepwalking here. My eyes were literally heavy as lead. Hearing this, Vesper let out a massive breath. Oh, so he just meant actual sleeping. Suddenly, she felt a wave of guilt mixed with gratitude. He really was a sweet guy. He saved her life, cooked her a hot meal, and now he is sleeping on the hard floor for me. She looked up sincerely. I paused. Floor? No, no, no. I smiled slightly. You got it wrong. 10 minutes later, Vesper stared in utter shock at the setup on the floor. What on earth? You call this a bed? It was literally just a single sheet tossed onto the cold floor. Glaring at me, she asked if chivalry was completely dead. Aren't you supposed to offer me the bed first, while you take the floor? We argue back and forth. You insist on being a gentleman, and finally, I reluctantly take the mattress while you crash downstairs. That is literally how every single romance movie plays out. I just rolled my eyes and flopped onto my comfortable mattress. Seriously, what kind of logic is that? It is just an outdated stereotype. On a normal day, I might play along with those expectations. But tonight, I am far too exhausted and emotionally drained to care. So, I have made a decision that goes completely against my ancestors. I am definitely not being a gentleman tonight. I am just being myself. With a heavy sigh, I collapsed face down on my blankets. Are you lying down yet? Because I'm killing the lights. Gritting her teeth, Vesper curled up on the hard floor, tossing and turning in the pitch black. She had never slept on such a rock-hard bed in her entire life. Was this meant to put her to sleep or actually wake her up? I suddenly spoke up. Stop tossing. It is too noisy. You think I want to toss? Vesper instantly bristled like an angry cat, asking if I had any idea how much the floor dug into her bones. I let out a sigh. How about you come up and sleep here too, huh? Vesper froze. We will just put a blanket in the middle of the bed to separate us. Besides, If you keep rolling around endlessly, I won't get any sleep either. Why don't you come down and sleep on the floor instead? No way. Why? Because I have suffered enough today. Look, do you want to get on this bed or not? An intense struggle began inside her. Do I actually want to get in his bed? Without doing it, I won't sleep. And if I do, what if he turns out to be a bad guy? I shot her a glance and started a countdown. At number 1, Vesper grit her teeth and made a move. I want to get in. I want to sleep in your bed. Outside, a full moon hung in the sky, the perfect time for werewolves to unleash their wild side. Listening to my steady breathing, Vesper's heart leaped straight into her throat. She stared at the blanket barrier in the middle of the bed. Give me a break. What is this even going to stop? One roll and he's across the line. Just like that, she was sharing a bed with Ronan. If he tried anything, Vesper dared not imagine the rest. No, she needed to intimidate him. Ronan, thank you for today. Vesper spoke up. Tomorrow, I'll get my boyfriend to come over and hand you a massive cash reward. My boyfriend is in the mafia, you know. He is the kind of guy who risks his life over a single argument. I have told him so many times to calm down. I mean, why go around ending people over such minor issues? Seeing that I didn't dare speak, as if totally intimidated, Vesper felt a wave of smugness wash over her. A few casual threats, and she had him right where she wanted him. But you don't have to be scared, Vesper said, her voice growing calmer. The mob always separates favors from fights. After all, you saved me. Until my boyfriend gets here, as long as you keep me safe, he won't touch you and will reward you. So, as long as you behave, I promise you will spend the rest of your life thanking yourself for today. But mid-sentence, loud snoring suddenly broke the silence. Vesper's face fell instantly. Wait, I've been giving you heavy threats half the night, and you just fell asleep? With a girl like me right next to you, shouldn't you have some kind of thoughts? This is a total insult. You're really not a nice guy, she thought, huffing silently and turning her head away. Still spiraling in her thoughts, Vesper's eyelids grew heavy, and she slowly drifted off to sleep. Meanwhile, in the girls' dorm at the college, Loralie frowned deeply. What is Ronan's problem? So what if I missed his birthday? Does he really need to make a massive deal out of this? I sent a text explaining myself. What else does he want? Loralie's roommate, Sloane, put her hands on her hips and chimed in, Lori, you can't spoil guys like that. Throwing a fit over such a small thing. If you married a guy like that, who knows how bad it could get? Another roommate agreed, saying he doesn't know his place. You have a high-quality guy like Sterling chasing you. He's rich, stylish, has great taste, and drives a luxury car. How could Ronan ever compete? Hearing her roommate's words, Loralie quietly agreed with them. Her frustration melted away after hearing their logic. It's true that outsiders always see things clearer. I have just cared too much about our years of friendship and spoiled Ronan. She grabbed her phone and sent another message. Since you are ignoring me, your punishment is that you aren't allowed to bring me breakfast for a week. Also, you must write a real apology letter and hand it to me. This is your final chance. Let's be clear. If you can't show this simple bit of sincerity, don't ever expect me to talk to you again. The next morning, I slowly woke up. A perfect, unbelievably gorgeous face was resting just inches from mine. Vesper's oversized pajama top had slipped, showing off her pale shoulder at the top, and a glimpse of her slim waist at the bottom. Her delicate arm was draped boldly across my chest, but the craziest part was her leg. That long, pale leg was completely wrapped around my waist. I rubbed my eyes in total disbelief. What in the world? What kind of sleeping position is this? Are you using me like a climbing tree? Clinging onto me like this? Did you mix sleeping with a dance routine? But honestly, her skin felt incredibly smooth. Looking closely at Vesper's flawless, almost glowing skin, I swallowed hard and tried to keep my cool. Right then, Vesper slowly opened her eyes, and our gaze instantly locked. Seeing my face covered in cold sweat, she shook her body and scooted even closer, then closed her eyes again, hugging me tight in the most natural way possible. My brain instantly short-circuited. She isn't actually awake yet. Is she trying to get a second round of sleep? Right now, her gorgeous face is so close I can literally feel her warm breath fanning across my lips. Breathing in her sweet scent, my heart started hammering completely out of control. When daylight fully broke, Vesper let out a soft, groggy sigh, her body trembling slightly. Then, she officially opened her eyes. Instantly, we made eye contact again. After 3 seconds of dead silence, she let out a string of terrified screams. Standing in front of the bathroom sink, Vesper clutched her long hair, looking absolutely horrified. Just a minute ago, she woke up thinking I was trying to attack her, and almost threw a 5-hit combo right then and there. But looking closely, she realized I was sleeping like a baby, completely still and not moving an inch. It was actually her clinging to me like an octopus, wrapped so tight there was zero space between us. Oh man. Vesper stared at her trembling hands. Why would I sleep like that? I am an heiress of a prestigious family. An heiress who underwent strict etiquette training. Why would I kick off the blanket, ride him, hug him, and stick to him, and rub against him like her life depended on it? She seriously wanted to move to Mars. Earth was officially cancelled for her. No, 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 that wasn't me. Vesper clutched her head and shook it desperately. Outside the door, I knocked and asked if she could come out now. You've been in there for half an hour. Come out and eat. I made some red bean porridge. She yelled back that she wasn't eating. Telling me to eat it myself, Vesper covered her face. I replied that she didn't have to eat, but she had to get out because I seriously needed to pee. She demanded that I forget what happened this morning. I told her I already did. Swore it on my life. My mind is totally blank. I just need the toilet. 2.5 minutes later, Vesper sat at the table in absolute silence, eating her porridge without saying a single word. I looked over at her face. It was so cold, she looked ready to shoot daggers. I have to admit, she is drop-dead gorgeous. Even when she is furious, looking at her is completely intoxicating. Yesterday was way too chaotic, and I was too exhausted to notice. But staring at Vesper today, I completely surrender. Vesper is absolutely a 1 in a million beauty who won the genetic lottery. While other people look like dirt splatters from the creator, she is a premium masterpiece. You literally cannot find a single flaw on her face. Her look is just top tier. A solid 9 out of 10 girl like Laurel is already the dream girl in many guys' late-night fantasies. But standing next to Vesper's elite stats, Laurel honestly looks like a cheap knockoff. I slurped some porridge and asked if she planned on going to school today. Vesper gave me a cold no. I picked up a napkin, wiped my mouth, and slid my phone over. Told her to use it for now. If she needs anything, just call or message Dax. We are basically joined at the hip. Passcode is 66S. Vesper looked surprised. She asked why I ate so little. I told her I was saving room for a jianbing crepe at the school gate, then suggested we eat dinner together. As she watched me walk out the door, Vesper's expression grew incredibly complex. There is no tonight. By the time you get back, I will already be gone. Grabbing my phone, she dialed a number. The moment it connected, a frantic voice on the other end blurted out, "Miss, where are you? Just swallow your pride. Apologize to the master, and hurry back home. No matter what, he is still your father." Vesper scoffed. Father? She sneered. He brought a new girlfriend home less than a month after my mother died. Does a man like that deserve to be called a father? Besides, did my mom really die in a car accident? Or did her death just happen to make someone else very rich? A flash of pure ice crept into Vesper's eyes. Tell Uncle Lee to arrange some things for me. Tell him to freeze his operations in northern Myanmar. Get him a transfer student cover and have him come to this university immediately. And book a double dorm room for the two of us. The voice replied, Understood. Miss. You will see him tomorrow. Do not call this number, I will be the one contacting you. After saying that, Vesper hung up. Meanwhile, when I walked into the classroom, Laurel and her roommates were already sitting in their usual spots. The seat next to her was empty. Everyone in our department knew that spot was historically reserved as my personal simp throne. The moment Laurel saw me walk in, her laughing and chatting stopped. Her face turned cold as stone. She glared at me with pure hostility, her eyes burning with rage. Glancing down, she noticed I was holding a jianbing crepe, which made her even more furious. Didn't I text you yesterday telling you not to buy me breakfast for a week? How did he even have the nerve to show up? She watched him get closer and closer. She scoffed, standing tall and proud. She was just waiting for me to walk over, grovel, beg for forgiveness, and hand over that letter. And when I did, she would throw it on the ground without looking. But 1 second ticked by, then 2, then half a minute. Laurel turned her head, completely confused. The space next to her was completely empty. Laurel whipped her head around and saw I had walked right past her. I sat in the back with Dax and my other roommates without even looking at her. She stood there, completely speechless. It wasn't just her, either. Everyone else in the class who saw this looked totally bewildered. Ignoring their weird stares, I devoured my food. Next to me, Dax watched me shovel food in with a relieved smile. Man. Seeing you like this, your old man can finally rest easy. But seriously, why do you keep staring at my phone and scrolling through my WeChat? Did you hide some secret on here or what? I awkwardly set his phone down, just wanted to make sure you didn't miss anything. My mind was a total wreck, completely consumed by thoughts of Vesper. The second those 2 long classes ended, I bolted right out of the room, leaving my roommates eating my dust. Dax figured I was running off to buy Laurel her lunch again, and she snorted when she heard that. You really think I would eat food you bought? Sorry, but you already blew your chance. She pictured me, running to her with cafeteria takeout boxes, looking totally desperate. That thought instantly cheered her up. But when Laurel arrived at the cafeteria with Sloane and the others, the massive lines made her scowl. She almost never showed up here when it was this packed. Usually, I delivered her lunch straight to her dorm room. Remembering this, Laurel automatically started scanning the crowd for my face. But after searching for what felt like forever, she saw nothing. Laurel was instantly furious. Swallowing her rising anger, she waited in line for a grueling 15 minutes before it was finally her turn to order. She let out a frustrated sigh, put her hands on her hips, and told the server to give her some Yuban flaming noodles. Requested mild, but the lady replied that those noodles sold out ages ago. If you want those, you have to line up before 12. Latecomers get nothing. Laurel stared in absolute shock. Were those noodles really that popular? Suddenly, she remembered how I always bolted the very second our morning lectures finished. So, that was the secret. I had been sprinting across campus just to secure her lunch. Then I will just take the sweet and sour pineapple pork, Laurel quickly said. But the server just stared blankly and asked, "What pork?" Sloane quickly nudged her, pointing out that the sweet and sour pineapple pork was over in cafeteria number 4. Not here. Then what about the Odin? Sloane replied that was in cafeteria 2. Laurel froze. To get all 3 of her favorites, someone had to sprint across half the campus. Laurel simply could not believe what she was hearing. Ultimately, she had no clue what she actually ordered. She just stood there in a daze, holding her tray for 10 minutes with Sloane's group. They finally grabbed an empty table, though the cleaning lady had not even wiped it yet. Once the worker casually smeared a greasy rag across the dirty table, Laurel completely lost her appetite. A single question kept spinning in her head. Usually, I would run out of class like a madman to fetch her food. But today, I was nowhere to be found. So why was I in such a hurry? Did I go to pamper some other girl? No way. Laurel quickly dismissed the thought. Absolutely impossible. Maybe I knew cafeteria food wouldn't win her back this time, so I went off campus to buy her a massive feast. That had to be it. And she instantly felt better. But given Ronan's budget, it would probably look like cheap fast food to Sterling. Laurel curled her lip in disgust. If he had time for all these dramatic stunts, he should have just written a proper apology letter. Meanwhile, at a barber shop off campus, I stared at my clean, sharp new look. The real reason I rushed out of class was to finally chop off this long, embarrassing bowl cut I had dragged around for over 3 years. That ugly bowl cut was modeled after Laurel's favorite movie character. I only grew it out in the first place to make her happy. So I forced myself to keep it for 3 long years. Now, I was finally free, and it felt amazing. I let out a soft sigh. For years, I did absolutely everything to please Loralie, bitterly chasing her for 5 long years, only to get betrayed in the end. I ran my fingers through my fresh, newly cut short hair. Vesper seriously had amazing taste. Short hair really was the perfect look for me. But as I thought of Vesper, I couldn't help but wonder, had she eaten lunch yet? Maybe I should borrow Dax's phone to give her a call this afternoon. Heading back to class, I spotted Dax waving from a saved seat, so I walked straight over to join him. Wow, look at that incredibly good-looking guy. Who is he? Did he wander into the wrong classroom? Whispers immediately rippled across the classroom, and dozens of eyes locked onto me. But I was in a rush, completely oblivious to all the sudden attention. I strolled over to Dax, but just as I went to sit down, he turned around, stared, and froze completely. Hey man, this seat is taken. Can't you see I already saved it? Hearing that, I let out a helpless sigh. Come on, son, you don't even recognize your own daddy anymore? The moment my voice registered, it felt like someone hit pause on the entire room. Instantly, the room fell dead silent. You could literally hear a pin drop. Everyone just sat there, with their mouths wide open, staring at me like some alien, completely lost in disbelief. Dax jumped up as if his tail had been stepped on. Holy crap, dude, did you fly to Korea for plastic surgery? Meanwhile, on the other side of the room, Loralie, who missed my massive lunch stunt earlier, had a deeply conflicted look on her face. Her heart was pounding. In her memory, I was always just tacky. But seeing me look like some famous, incredibly handsome star completely shattered her reality, leaving her head spinning. She stared at me intensely, her eyes dropping obvious hints. Since you got a makeover just for me, she thought, I'll give you another chance. She even waved her phone at me, her look saying text me right now, and maybe I'll forgive you. As the very last class of the day dragged to an end, she still hadn't gotten a single text from me. Panic set in. After agonizing over it, she muttered to herself, I really wasn't going to pay him any attention. But since we grew up as neighbors and he's chased me for so long, I'll make an exception and give him a chance. Typical guys, right? They'd rather suffer in silence to save face. He's probably been checking his phone all day, going crazy waiting for me to text. Fine, I'll throw him a bone, but just this once. Grabbing her phone, she typed out a message, keeping her tone as casual as possible. Where did you get your haircut? It looks really good. I actually need a trim myself, so take me there after school. Meanwhile, back at my apartment, Vesper took one last look around the living room, got up, and set my phone on the table. But just as she headed for the door, the phone chimed. Caught off guard, Vesper reached down and picked it up. Reading the incoming text, her gaze stiffened. The sender's contact name was saved as Baby Loralie. That name was definitely a red flag. Vesper slowly started scrolling up through the chat history, her eyebrows knitting together. Unbelievable, Ronan, you're actually a massive simp. I thought I rescued a fierce mafia heiress from jumping off a bridge, and yet, we ended up sharing the same bed. But just as she was leaving, she found all the embarrassing proof of my simping. For some strange reason, Vesper felt an unfamiliar heat of irritation rising in her chest. How interesting. She cast her eyes down, her long lashes shading her face. Slap. Throwing her keys heavily onto the table, Vesper sat right back down. No rush. I'm reading this entire chat first. Ronan, let's see just how low you crawled for this girl. Normally, I'd head straight to the dorms after class. Hanging out with the boys in the noisy dorms was always a blast, but today was completely different. Today, I actually had someone waiting for me at home. The second the bell rang, I ditched my friends and ran to the grocery store. Honestly, if you ever feel like you're failing at everything in life, just go buy something. At least that way, you'll experience a successful transaction. I dragged inside a massive load of groceries, fresh meat, fish, and veggies, but the moment I stepped in, the air felt incredibly heavy. Seeing me walk in, Vesper slammed the phone down onto the table and sneered. Nice haircut. Her voice was absolutely dripping with pure sarcasm. Something was wrong. I immediately felt a terrible omen. That icy look, that tense posture, and that heavy, suffocating pressure. She looked exactly like my mom right before she completely laid into my dad. I immediately threw up my hands and laughed nervously, asking what she did all day. Her reply? Nothing much. Vesper's lips curved into a chilling smile as she said she just stared at a phone all afternoon. Oh, no. My fingers tapped my knees in pure panic. With a tone like that, as someone who believes in heroes, I swear on Ultraman Zero that something bad went down. What is going on here? Do I ask? Or do I just walk away quietly? Looking at Vesper's gorgeous, freezing cold face, I listened to my gut. Time to run. Running away is definitely the best move here. Hey, you keep playing on your phone. I am going to make dinner. I pointed to the kitchen and bolted. Suddenly, Vesper blocked my path. I am coming too. Can I be your little helper? So, with me laughing nervously, the two of us walked into the kitchen. I grabbed the cutting board and looked back. There was Vesper, holding the flopping fish, and staring at it with icy eyes. Her gaze was cold enough to freeze water. I nervously asked if she knew how to kill a fish. Vesper paused to think. Making it dead, right? I can do that, she said. I told her the fish was all hers, and I would handle the flatbreads. With that, I walked back to the living room to find the electric griddle. I handed her the rolling pin so it wouldn't roll off the counter. She stood there, holding a live, thrashing carp in one hand and the heavy wooden pin in the other, completely lost in thought. Just make it dead. Sounds simple enough, and honestly, it fit her mood. She tested the weight of the massive rolling pin. It felt heavy and solid. With cold eyes, Vesper pinned the fish flat on the board, raised the weapon high, and aimed straight for its head. I was still rummaging through the living room when a sudden, violent crash made me jump. An earthquake? I rushed back into the kitchen to find Vesper repeatedly slamming the rolling pin down on the cutting board. I froze in absolute shock, my mind completely blank. What on earth are you doing? What are you trying to accomplish here? The fishtail gave one last, desperate twitch. Instantly, Vesper brought the rolling pin down for another heavy blow. Smack! The head was completely crushed, and the tail stopped moving. I took a slow step back, trying to stay calm. What are you doing? I asked. Killing the fish, Vesper said, turning around to glare at me with cold eyes. She asked if this wasn't what I wanted. I opened my mouth to reply, but then, the dead fish's tail twitched slightly. A pure muscle spasm. I swear, it was the tiniest, most microscopic movement you could imagine. The rolling pin cut through the air with a sharp whistle, crashing down like a bolt of lightning. Smash! A loud bang. That is for having no pride in being a doormat. Smash! Another heavy hit. That is for bowing and scraping for 5 years straight. Smash! A third crash. That is for being completely blind and not knowing a gem from trash. A brutal 3-hit combo. With my ears ringing, that poor fish, whatever sins it committed in a past life, was finally completely and utterly dead. Vesper let out a satisfied sigh, set the rolling pin aside, and turned to look at me standing there, completely frozen. He has the looks and the brains, yet he lets some manipulative girl play him like a fiddle. Ronan, what on earth is wrong with you? Earlier that afternoon, she had been seething with rage while reading through my entire chat history with Laurel. At first, she planned to walk out as soon as she finished, but by the time I got back, she was still reading. Just reading those texts made her want to scream with rage. It was supposed to be a two-way conversation, but it was just a sea of green bubbles. I was basically talking to myself. She saw my long, thoughtful messages, met with cold, one-word replies. Got it, and you are annoying. But a few lines really made her blood boil. If you keep being this lazy, do not blame me for not giving you a chance. You do not honestly think just any guy deserves a girl like Laurel, do you? Sterling and I are just friends. I have said that 1,000 times. If you cannot even handle that, maybe we should stop talking. And my pathetic response was to apologize and admit I was wrong. You are right. I was too sensitive. I will change. Please do not be mad at me. Scrolling through page after page, Vesper felt a heavy weight of pure frustration building in her chest. The sheer anger was suffocating. Why apologize, Ronan? What did you do wrong? You were just acting weak, desperate, and cowardly. Was this really the same guy she met last night? She remembered that rainy bridge, how I pulled her back, slapped her, and screamed at her to live. That was her absolute darkest hour, when the entire world had completely turned its back on her. Yet, I was the only person who refused to let her give up. I refused to let her life end at 20. That was the real Ronan. How could that same guy be this pathetic loser getting stepped on and crushed into the dirt? The kitchen was dead silent, the air heavy between us. Seeing Vesper breathing heavily in anger, I finally understood what was going on. Holy crap. I realized I had never wiped my chat history with Laurel, which literally went from 9th grade all the way to sophomore year in college. A complete, step-by-step record of my pathetic simping. Vesper read all 5 years of it. That chat history was easily over 200,000 words. Just picturing Vesper going through those humiliating texts one by one made my face turn pale. I got careless. I mean, how on earth did I forget to wipe that chat history? My mouth twitched as I closed my eyes. Everyone has to die eventually, but this was absolute social death. Maybe you should go back to the living room and relax for a bit, I suggested, keeping my head down. You really don't have to help me with this. I can easily cook on my own, I practically begged. Just let me stay in the kitchen alone for a while. I waited until Vesper finally turned and walked out. Lifting my head, completely stripped of any will to live, I wailed in total despair on the inside. It is over. My dignity is entirely gone. When people get this embarrassed, they immediately try to look incredibly busy. I frantically started prepping the fish. Oh, you poor thing. Your fate is truly tragic. Vesper has completely smashed your head and my dignity into absolute mush. Turning the knob on the gas stove, I solemnly picked up the seasoning container. My mind kept replaying Vesper's brutal fish assassination. She was terrifyingly vicious. Did I seriously slap a girl like that yesterday? Staring blankly at the mangled fish in the pan, my hand twitched on its own, dumping half a container of salt right inside. 30 minutes later at the dinner table, Vesper sat with her head down, staring at the ruined, shattered fish head resting on her plate. But inside, her heart was filled with intense waves of regret. What on earth was wrong with me just now? Why did I get so angry? That was completely uncalled for and totally undignified. How could I behave like that? If he wants to simp for her, that is his choice. What does it have to do with me anyway? Besides, snooping through his private messages was entirely my own fault from the start, right? But I was just so incredibly annoyed. It is so weird. Why did I care so much? It is not like I actually like him. She looked up, took a quick glance at me, and confirmed it. Sharp eyebrows, bright eyes, and a strongly chiseled face. Of course, I do not like him. That goes without saying. Meanwhile, I just slumped back in my chair, looking completely exhausted. Even though my dignity was completely stripped away, I felt it was necessary to explain myself. I was honestly pretty embarrassing back then, as you saw. But the past is gone. I finally realized everything yesterday. The rain washed away all my bad karma, and only today do I understand who I really am. I officially announce that from this moment on, I will never simp again. I am completely done with romance. That stuff is pure garbage. Honestly, isn't petting a cat nice? Is not playing video games amazing? If push comes to shove, I can just wash dishes. Why do I need to date and hurt myself? The brutal lesson is right in front of me. From now on, anyone who wants to play dating games can go right ahead, but I am never touching it again. After that passionate speech, I sank back into my chair like a totally deflated balloon. I was not just putting on a dramatic act, those were my genuine feelings. Standing in the rain yesterday, I replayed everything from start to finish and reached a final conclusion. Life needs clear priorities. Love is nothing more than a simple condiment. You can survive just fine without it. Plus, life is way easier that way. Vesper stared at me in surprise, a complex mix of emotions flashing in her eyes. My words might have sounded extreme to anyone else, but Vesper actually completely agreed with them. Romance is incredibly stupid. To Vesper, the single most foolish thing in the entire world was falling in love. Her mother loved her father her whole life, and how did he repay that? Only fools want to date. Even a brilliant woman like her mom died, a tragic, unjust death, just because she loved the wrong man. Falling in love? Honestly, you might as well just jump off a high bridge. It is much faster. I will never date anyone either, she said with absolute seriousness. Not even if I die. My breath hitched. It was hard to believe. Wait, how is she even more intense about this than I was? Could it be that Vesper actually tried to end her life over some bad relationship? She definitely crossed paths with a total scumbag. Suddenly, a wave of emotion hit me. This tiny apartment sure has a high concentration of absolute despair. Every single person here is totally dead inside when it comes to romance. What can I even say? It is destiny. I could not help but reach my hand out to Vesper, symbolic of cutting off love and sealing our hearts in solid cement. Looking at me, Vesper grabbed my hand without hesitation, shaking it with shared animosity. We would supervise each other and stay strong together. The two of us stared at each other, with burning intensity. In that instant, we both felt like we had finally found a true ally. There really are not many sane people left in this world. Looking at our generation, only you and I truly get it. After sharing a knowing smile, the cold atmosphere in the room finally began to warm up. I flashed a big, goofy grin. We should eat before the food gets cold. Hearing that, Vesper's cheeks suddenly flushed a deep red. She quickly grabbed a piece of the fish with her chopsticks and popped it into her mouth. Her stunning, gorgeous eyes instantly widened as if she was struck by lightning. "How is it?" I asked nervously. Vesper said nothing, but her face quickly shifted through several different colors. She slowly set down her chopsticks, quietly grabbed the water glass beside her, and took a massive gulp. Panting for a second, she offered her review. "If you ignore the actual fish, this salt is pretty good." "Exactly. Very authentic salt. Nice, faint aftertaste. But wait, why so salty?" I instantly got a bad feeling. I rushed to grab a piece and taste it. Holy crap. If we finish this dish, we are getting arteriosclerosis. My vision literally blurred. I thought I saw my late grandmother waving to me from the light. My face turned pale, and I dropped my chopsticks. Sigh. Too many sketchy sellers out there. I bought a freshwater fish, but they somehow swapped it for a saltwater one. I threw my hands up in sheer, heartbroken grief. Snapping, "This is absolutely outrageous. Don't you agree?" Vesper stared at me, her face dripping with suspicion. "A saltwater fish? Just how salty does the ocean have to be to breed something like this?" The fish was inedible, but thankfully, we had flatbread. The bread, thank goodness, was not saltwater flavored. It was totally normal. The two of us tore off little pieces, cautiously dipping them into the ultra-salty fish broth, then gulping down massive mugs of hot water to dilute the salt. We barely managed to fill our stomachs. But right then, I suddenly felt like I had forgotten something. Still, I just could not remember what it was. Right as we cleared the table, two packages arrived. One was a camping mattress, and the other was a brand new phone. The mattress was for my floor setup, so I wouldn't freeze sleeping down there. The phone was for Vesper. It was a cheap, older model. I really wanted to get her a nicer one, but I was completely broke. I only had about 4,000 yuan, and that was after coaching part-time at a youth basketball academy every single weekend for 6 months. After today's spending, my account balance sat at a grand total of 48.6 yuan. Rounding up, I was totally bankrupt. I unboxed the pink phone and handed it over to Vesper. "I specifically picked out a pink one for you. Do you like it? It's an older model, though. Pretty cheap. Just make do with it for now. By the way, you reported your SIM card lost, right? Did you get the replacement yet?" But Vesper stayed completely quiet. Taking the phone, she suddenly froze. It really smelled so good. "What is wrong?" I stared at her in surprise. Vesper snapped out of her trance and quickly turned her back to me. "Nothing. I got the replacement card." "Thank you," she murmured, before rushing back into her bedroom and shutting the door behind her. Watching her walk away, I couldn't help but frown. Something was wrong. I definitely forgot something. But what? Inside the bedroom, Vesper held the phone, staring at it closely. It was real. After sliding in her SIM card, she powered it up. The bright screen lit up her face. She couldn't stop tracing her fingers over the pink casing. It was so incredibly similar. Years ago, her mother had handed her a little pink phone, saying the exact same words Ronan had just uttered. Vesper, I specifically bought you a pink one, do you like it? Back then, she had excitedly pressed the power button. The screen flared to life, casting a warm glow over her young face, just like it did right now. Since childhood, her mother was her only light. Facing the rest of the world, her severe social anxiety paralyzed her, making her unable to speak even 10 sentences. Only around her mom could she speak her mind freely. But now, her mother was gone, taken from this world forever. She thought she would never see light in this world again. But today, Ronan had spoken the exact same words, giving her a nearly identical pink phone. She stared at the screen. Was this really just a coincidence? She suddenly remembered their chance encounter on the bridge last night, and then, their argument today. Wait, an argument? She suddenly shuddered. I have spoken way more than 10 sentences with Ronan, haven't I? An absurd, crazy thought bubbled up in her chest. He stopped me from ending my life, just like Mom would have done. I can speak freely around Ronan without feeling any of my usual symptoms. Just like with my mom. The first phone Ronan bought me is exactly like the one Mom got me. Even his words when handing it over were completely identical. Vesper's eyes widened. Mom? Ronan, could it be that you were sent down from heaven just to protect me? Lifting her eyes, Vesper stared nervously at the ceiling. Mom, is that you? If it is, make the lights in this room flicker. 3 seconds passed, and everything stayed the same. Clutching her chest, Vesper let out a quiet sigh of relief. What on earth was I thinking? Honestly, she was about to laugh it off when poof, the lights went dead. Staring into the pitch blackness, it finally hit me. I forgot to put money on the electricity meter. What a joke. I literally caused a blackout. I quickly yelled out toward the bedroom, Vesper, it is okay. Do not panic. The power just went out. I will fix it right away. I scrambled online to buy electricity, then hurried outside to swipe the card. Beep boop. I messed around with the breaker. Then, boom. Let there be light. Grinning, I opened the bedroom door. Did I scare you? Right then, Vesper was drenched in a cold sweat, pale as a sheet. She stared right at me, lips trembling slightly, and pupils completely dilated. Was all that really necessary? I mean, it was just a blackout. Why the total overreaction? Whatever works. I let out an awkward laugh, retreated to the living room, and started figuring out the camping mattress. Solid. With this setup, we definitely won't end up tangled together by tomorrow morning. It was the perfect plan. But then I remembered what happened in the kitchen, so I grabbed my phone and pulled up my chats with Laurel. Reading those messages made me completely speechless. Seriously, so embarrassing. I want to jump off a roof. Scrolling through, I had to ask myself a serious question. Why on earth was I so absolutely obsessed with her back then? Was it her personality? Her character? No. After thinking hard, I realized I probably just liked her because she was pretty. Sure, she was attractive, but if you actually stack her up against a gorgeous, top-tier beauty like Vesper, she is instantly outclassed. Vesper's face has contours that belong in an art museum, while Laurel's face is average at best, just plain neat. And as for their bodies? It is not even a contest. Vesper has long legs, flawless proportions, jaw-dropping curves, and a stunning figure. Honestly, her body is like a maxed-out, pay-to-win account in an online game. Meanwhile, Laurel is completely flat in the front and back. A total ironing board. Genuinely laughable. How did I ever compare them? Honestly, Laurel has zero special qualities. None. I had just been putting ridiculous, imaginary filters on her this whole time. With the illusion finally shattered, I came to a shocking realization. Laurel's greatest charm was nothing more than my own overactive imagination. I had been brainwashing myself the entire time. Now, she was suddenly spamming my phone. I stared at the screen, totally speechless. Her last 3 texts to me were about yesterday, begging to explain herself again. She claimed she wanted to leave early, but Sloan and the crew were having too much fun and wouldn't let her. On top of that, she forced them to delete those truth or dare videos from their feeds, claiming she only played along to keep the peace. Then she asked if she could bring over my birthday present tomorrow. She claimed she chose it incredibly carefully. The whole thing just felt so absurd to me now. Years ago, I literally prayed every single day for Laurel to text me. But now, I finally realized that getting her to text me was incredibly simple. All I had to do? Completely ignore her. Honestly, I just felt completely over it. Back when I was gentle as a cat, She complained that I shed too much. Now that I am finally done playing her games, she turns around and starts begging for my attention. Yesterday, I saw Laurel's true colors and cut off my feelings. Today, I am completely over her. Done. It turns out she was never worth my time. Not once. So I changed Laurel's contact name, unpinned her, deleted our entire history, and muted her. Honestly, I should have just blocked her outright, but given how close my parents are to Uncle Mew and Aunt Lou, that probably would have caused too much family drama. Bottom line, I am never looking back. After thinking it over, I sent Laurel one last message. Return the gift. Do not bring it to me. It is completely meaningless. Also, unless it is a wedding, a funeral, or family business, please do not contact me ever again. Meanwhile, over at the campus package pickup station, Laurel was furiously screaming at a delivery guy on her phone. Are you positive you left it here? She claimed she had looked everywhere. Earlier today, when she texted about getting haircuts together, I simply ignored her. Even when classes let out, I did not look in her direction. I just walked away. She was absolutely furious. But the second she got back to her dorm room, panic set in. I had not spoken to her the entire day. That was completely unprecedented for them. Even when they were young children, any argument they had was always settled before the sun went down. Laurel bit her lip, feeling sick to her stomach. Was Ronan's phone just broken? It had to be. Desperate to check if I was even receiving texts, she fired off several more messages in a row. But with every text, her pride slowly crumbled. Finally, the usually arrogant girl completely bowed her head, begging to hand-deliver my gift tomorrow. The truth was, the original present she got me was just a cheap, lazy piece of junk. But in a total panic, she actually went out and meticulously chose a premium pair of basketball shoes, even paying extra for express overnight delivery. As soon as the delivery alert hit her phone, Laurel dragged Sloane along to collect it. But despite tearing the place apart, they found absolutely nothing. For a self-proclaimed VIP, this was unacceptable. Fuming with rage, Laurel called the courier directly and demanded to know which pickup spot he had used. The courier asked which one. Confused, Laurel and Sloane thought there was only one spot. After talking for 2 full minutes, the reality finally clicked. There were actually 4 different pickup locations nearby. They were completely stunned. As sophomores, both were heavy online shoppers. But since I had always picked up every single package for them, they had no idea other pickup spots even existed. Laurel hung up, completely lost, alongside Sloane. Checking 4 different spots one by one was going to take them hours. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. She saw Ronan's name and her eyes lit up. She opened the message, which said to return the gift because it was pointless. He told her not to contact him anymore unless a major life event like a wedding or funeral required it. Laurel froze instantly. A wave of anger rushed through her, even as tears began to sting her eyes. She had gone to all this trouble, searching across 4 different pickup spots. But Ronan did not show an ounce of appreciation, sending such a cold message. Did he not feel any guilt at all? Beside her, Sloane was thoroughly annoyed after wasting so much time looking for packages. Seeing the text, Sloane instantly snapped. How could he act this incredibly arrogant? Did he not understand the real world? Did he not watch the news? The country had 30 million more men than women. 30 million. Out of every 6 guys, 1 will never marry. Girls were the ones doing the choosing, not the guys. Laurel, even if he will not simp for you, other guys will happily do it. He thinks he is a big deal just because of a fresh haircut. He is childish compared to young Master Sterling. What kind of nobody was he anyway? Sloane ranted, her anger boiling over. Rolling her eyes, Sloane snatched Laurel's phone, opened Sterling's contact, and sent a direct text. Their dorm wanted to go to karaoke. She invited him to bring his friends and hang out, hitting send. She sneered, wondering if Ronan really wanted to play hardball. She decided to throw a party to bring Laurel and Sterling closer, promising to make Ronan watch it all unfold on social media. Did the brat really think she could not handle him? An hour later, sitting in the KTV lounge near the university, Laurel looked at Sterling and quietly turned away. She used to think he had an amazing, handsome, and truly elegant presence, but after seeing my new short haircut in English class earlier that afternoon, she found Sterling looking more and more ordinary the longer she stared. Laurel. Her roommate anxiously asked if she had texted Ronan to help with tomorrow's computer science assignment. Marn chuckled, saying it went without saying because Ronan would jump at the chance. Laurel's word was law to him. Doing her homework was an honor. Plus, tomorrow's computer science project was group-based anyway. Laurel's group had originally planned to finish it tonight, but with everyone having fun, nobody wanted to head back. Naturally, they immediately thought of me. Whenever Laurel needed help, I would always step up for her without a second thought. Even if my own schoolwork was unfinished, I made sure hers was done first. That was always the rule, with zero exceptions. With Marn and Faye staring at her expectantly, Laurel just mumbled something and remained quiet. My harsh text was still fresh in her mind. Asking for my help now felt risky. Would I even agree? She bit her lip in frustration. Maybe she should call him. Text messages could easily lead to misunderstandings. She grabbed her phone and typed a quick text, asking him to call her. Once she hit send, she felt incredibly slighted. If her friends had not begged her, she would never have sent such a humbling text. She simply could not understand. She only missed his birthday party. Was it really such a massive deal? Did it justify him being so cruel and telling her to stay away? She had offered him an easy peace offering, so why was he acting so blind to the situation? Sterling sat close by and asked with fake politeness if Ronan was going to help, or if he was still sulking over yesterday. Sterling slapped his forehead, acting deeply regretful as he sighed and admitted yesterday was totally his fault. He claimed he had no idea it was Ronan's birthday, but pointed out that holding a grudge for an entire day was ridiculous. Sighing, Sterling shrugged and wondered aloud if a grown man should really be acting this petty. He mentioned hearing they were close childhood neighbors. Yet Ronan did not seem to show her any real understanding or patience. His remarks hit home, and several people agreed my behavior was pretty uncalled for. A few songs later, there was still no reply from Ronan. So, the group told Loralie to just call him. If he could help, perfect. If not, they would actually have to go back and do their own homework. Under pressure from the group, Loralie stepped into the hallway. She reluctantly dialed Ronan's number, feeling a sudden surge of anger flare up. She thought, Ronan, you think you are hot stuff now? You dare ignore me? Fine. I will just go play with Sterling. Who else is going to hang out with you? You will just end up playing video games with your lonely roommates. The phone kept ringing, making Loralie's blood boil. It looked like he really was just ignoring her for games. His own homework was not even finished, yet he was playing games. Just as she angrily went to hang up, the line connected. Loralie exploded immediately. Ronan, what are you doing? Did you seriously not see my texts? Why did you take so long to answer? And what was with that don't contact me anymore nonsense? Are you seriously still sulking over that little thing? Hello? Say something. A brief silence followed then. A cold, clear female voice answered. Hello, she said. Ronan is busy right now. Loralie's face went completely blank. A girl? There was a girl with Ronan? She felt like she was dreaming. Who are you? She stammered in a daze. And why are you with Ronan? The girl said she was Ronan's friend. Pure garbage. Loralie and Ronan grew up together as childhood sweethearts. Loralie knew every single girl in Ronan's life, but she had never heard this voice before. Her face drained of all color, her attitude instantly evaporating. She asked hesitantly, what is Ronan doing? Why is he not the one answering his own phone? Vesper paused, then said he was busy making the bed. Just one sentence. Her tone was flat and brief, but it hit like a 500-ton bomb. Loralie stood there, utterly paralyzed. Ronan was with a strange girl, making the bed. What were they going to do after making the bed? Loralie's brain completely short-circuited. The call had already ended, but she stood frozen. It felt like a silent spell with total armor penetration. A wild, horrifying thought crept into her mind. Was it possible that Ronan actually had a girlfriend, and they were living together? Loralie stumbled back into the karaoke room, looking pale and completely lost in her thoughts. Loralie, did Ronan agree to help us with the homework? Everyone asked eagerly, while Loralie just stammered. She had only one goal now. She had to hide this. Nobody could ever find out. She could not let them think Ronan had moved on. No, that was impossible. She knew him. How could Ronan ever look at another girl besides her? I must be overthinking this. True, they had a small misunderstanding recently, and she had been a bit too harsh, but she just needed to explain herself. How could Ronan ever settle for some basic girl just because things were rough between them? No way. He did not have such low standards. He was obsessed with her. Faye saw her pale face and asked if he refused. No, Loralie panicked. Driven by some desperate urge to lie, she blurted out that he agreed. The entire room burst into cheers and whistles. Sterling chuckled softly, a smug, greedy look washing over his face. He thought Ronan was actually pretty useful for running errands and doing everyone's chores. Now Loralie has no worries and is all mine. Ronan, you really are the ultimate simp. Ignoring everyone's looks, Loralie grabbed her phone and quickly texted Ronan, saying they just had a few misunderstandings recently. She wrote, let us talk in person tomorrow, okay? Just do our homework tonight, please. You are the best. See you tomorrow. Mwah. Then she sent a cute thank you sticker. She drafted the message with extreme care, agonizing over every single word. deleting and rewriting. It felt incredibly humbling, almost pathetic. Surely, after she lowered her standards this much, Ronan would do it, right? Absolutely. After a proper thank you tomorrow, they would go back to normal. Who was that girl on the phone anyway? Right then, Toby showed his phone to Sloane. Sloane, have you ever used a voice changer? Honestly, this app is so much fun. It can instantly make a grown man sound like a sweet anime girl. Then, he demonstrated. Overhearing this, Lorelie's eyes went wide as she had a sudden epiphany. A voice changer? Suddenly, everything made sense. So that was his trick. She relaxed instantly, finding it both hilarious and annoying. No wonder the phone rang for so long. He was busy setting up the voice changer app. She knew it. There was no way he was living with some random girl. His heart only had room for one person. Laurel's mood shifted instantly, freezing winter to peak summer. Ronan. Oh, Ronan, you really are so childish. Meanwhile, I set up my camping mattress. Was about to wash up when Dax suddenly initiated a voice call. Bro? High alert. Hold on, tell me what you want first. Then I will decide if we are bros. Bro, you still haven't done our group computer science homework for tomorrow. I know it was my turn. But aren't I working at that tutoring center? Bro, you know my style. Nothing else. Just highly motivated. I'm seizing every second to hear Teacher Lee's lectures. I just want to improve so badly. So, I just did not have time for the homework. Can you understand my agonizing pain? I rolled my eyes hard. This jerk Dax recently used a part-time job excuse to hang out at the Kapok Tutoring Center. Part-time job, my foot. He was just eyeing a gorgeous older teacher there, Teacher Lee Yimong. He thought her knowledge was immense. Easily a 36D. That massive knowledge completely blinded Dax. Talk about the evolution of the times. Youths love older women. Now, the first thing Dax does back at the dorm is brag about the tutoring center's highly impressive facilities. So white. The whiteboard, I mean. And the chalk is so big. The podium is so round. Anyway, he just wants to improve too much, trying to dump the homework on me? No way. I refused instantly. Big bro, no deal. Dad, still no. The phone fell silent as if he was making a heavy decision. 2 seconds later, Dax sounded like he had lived his life regretting only that he never met a wise master. If you do not despise me, Dax is willing to bow and acknowledge you as my godfather. Godfather, save your son. He wailed heart-wrenchingly. Godfather, just cover for your son this once. Next time, your son will introduce you to a girlfriend. Fine, I will introduce one a day. Guaranteed quality. A cute setup girl. Will that work? Speechless, I hung up. My mouth twitched. What a disaster. It seems this unfilial kid is determined to screw over his dad. But this guy is really something, trying to bribe me with cup sizes. Who is he looking down on? Personally, I prefer G cups. No, wait. I turn around and there is a 36D right here. When are we sleeping? The 36D behind me asked coldly. I awkwardly scratched my head. Hold on, I have to finish this computer science assignment first. How long will it take? Hard to say. I'm the type who rises to the challenge. What does that mean? I smiled. It means I have to pull an all-nighter. Sighing, I opened my laptop while silently cursing Dax and his entire family tree. I started typing away on the keyboard. A faint, sweet fragrance wafted from beside me. Turning my head, I saw Vesper sitting right next to me, frowning at my screen. You set this pointer wrong, she pointed. Also, you could easily solve this by adding a single variable. Why insist on writing a whole function? Is that right? Using a dumb method like yours, you really will have to pull an all-nighter. I blinked in surprise. Wait, Vesper actually understands this stuff? Aren't girls usually tech illiterate? I am a computer science major, Vesper said, glancing over. Forget it, move over, I will do it. I was instantly overjoyed and hurriedly asked her what I needed to change. Vesper shook her head. I will just do it myself. Saying that, she took over the keyboard and started clacking away. Her slender fingers flew across the keys as elegantly as a pianist playing a masterpiece. I watched in absolute awe. Before this, I only knew Vesper as our school's beauty queen, but had no idea she was actually in the computer science department. Everyone knows that place is a total sausage fest with historically zero beauties. Who would have thought a literal goddess would suddenly descend from the heavens? Vesper practically wiped away our entire department's shame. She typed incredibly fast, and the more I watched, the more awestruck I became. I quickly hurried to the kitchen, washed some grapes, brought them over, and asked with a fawning smile, "Boss, want some grapes?" "My hands are busy," Vesper said without stopping her fingers. I had no choice but to toss one into my own mouth. So sweet, I could not help but smack my lips. "So, you are just going to eat them all yourself?" Vesper suddenly looked displeased. I paused. Didn't you say your hands were busy? Vesper glared back, but aren't your hands free? She must have been thinking if my hands were free, why couldn't I just take the grapes somewhere else to eat? Why was I smacking my lips right in front of her? I carefully pondered Vesper's words, a bit confused. Her hands are busy. My hands are free. She's hinting at something. Could she actually want me to feed her? My breath hitched. Feeding her? Isn't that a bit too intimate? We are just friends, isn't this crossing a line? No, I can't look at it that way. Think about it. Since both of our hearts are basically sealed with cement, where even is the line? There is no line. Why hesitate? I clapped my hands together, a sudden realization hitting me. What on earth am I even feeling guilty about? She asked for this. There is absolutely nothing to feel bad about. My conscience is completely clean. The next second, I picked up a grape and offered it right to Vesper's lips open up. Her heart skipped a wild beat. He is actually going to feed me. Her pale cheeks flushed a soft, sudden crimson. Ronan, what are you doing? Isn't this getting a bit too intimate? We are just friends. You are crossing a line here. Plus, besides my social anxiety, I naturally fear getting too close. How could she let him hand-feed her? But the grape was already at her lips. Vesper's face cycled through a dozen emotions before she gritted her teeth. What is there to fear? Everyone's hearts are sealed in cement anyway. What am I even afraid of? I am completely innocent here. My conscience is totally clear. Blushing furiously, she took the grape in one bite and swallowed. I immediately offered another. Just like that, we ate and worked. I originally figured this heavy computer science assignment meant we would be pulling an all-nighter. I never expected that in the brief time it took to feed her some grapes, Vesper would finish the entire thing. Talk about high efficiency. And she seemed thrilled too. She had struggled with severe social anxiety since childhood. At her absolute worst, she could barely talk to anyone except her own mother. But ever since I brought her home, she was not only talking more, but communicating with me had become completely effortless. Today, she was even letting me hand-feed her. I just fed her a whole bunch of grapes, and she did not panic or shut down. In the past, this would have been completely unimaginable. By the end, Vesper felt completely dazed. Why am I acting so normal? Am I cured? Around 11:30 at night, the two of us finally headed to bed. I stretched out on the camping mattress spread on the floor. After that awkward situation last night, Vesper chose the far right edge of the bed, putting maximum distance between us. One on the bed, one on the floor, separated by a solid 1.5 meters. We both shared the exact same thought. This is totally safe now, no mistakes. Listening to my slow, steady breathing, Vesper closed her eyes in peace, a satisfied smile playing on her lips. Yes. Everything is secure this time. Tomorrow morning, I must be completely dignified and proper. When my eyes snapped open the next morning, the alarm had not even gone off yet. But the first thing I saw was Vesper's arm. Wait. I lifted my head, completely confused. Somehow, overnight, Vesper had migrated all the way to the far left edge of the bed. Her slender silhouette rose and fell with each breath, and her beautifully shaped arm was dangling straight down. I rubbed my eyes, staring at her smooth, pale skin. She was stunning. But wait, wasn't she sleeping on the complete opposite side of the bed last night? She migrated a full 1.5 meters sideways in her sleep. That is absolutely wild. I shook my head, completely baffled. Is Vesper seriously supposed to be a fearsome mafia heiress? I swear my aunt's 3-month-old niece sleeps with more dignity than her. I called out softly. Vesper, wake up. Please retract your sleepwalking superpowers. With a soft murmur, Vesper opened her blurry eyes. She had slept so well, she actually wondered if her condition was completely cured. She usually suffered from chronic insomnia. Yet these past 2 days at my place, her sleep was surprisingly deep. Right now, every cell in her body felt brimming with new energy. Oh, wait, did she hear Ronan? She realized he was calling her name. Her gaze slowly drifted down, tracing the line of her arm. Vesper's mouth fell open, and her eyes went completely wide. The sudden, absolute silence in the room was terrifying. Vesper stuttered incoherently, her cheeks flushing, as if they were about to catch fire. Flailing her arms in a total panic, she made a clumsy mistake. Smack. She slapped me right across the face. Down on my floor mattress, my mouth twitched wildly. Maybe I should jump on Pinduoduo and buy some straps to tie her to the bed. If she keeps sleeping like this, she is going to slap my face completely crooked. 2.5 minutes later, in front of the bathroom sink, Vesper grabbed her long hair and broke down again. Why? Why does a dignified mafia heiress make such an embarrassing scene every single night? She had suspected it yesterday, but today basically confirmed everything. The reason her sleeping posture was so outrageous was definitely Ronan. He just smelled too good. Since childhood, Vesper possessed an extraordinarily sensitive sense of smell. She often detected faint scents that normal people completely missed. As a kid, she would sniff the furniture all day, while the adults leaned in and detected absolutely nothing. To be honest, the very first time she met me, she thought I smelled amazing. I had this faint, incredibly fresh scent, especially right after showering. During the day, she could easily control herself. But once she fell asleep, her subconscious simply could not resist. It stood zero chance. She just wanted to be closer to him. Closer. Nearer. She wished she could literally glue herself to his side. Vesper wanted to dig a hole in the dirt with her toes out of pure embarrassment. Was this even normal? How does a grown guy smell so fresh and incredibly amazing? No way, I cannot stay under his roof another second. If I stay here any longer, my purity is toast. The school dorm? I still need to pack up and go there. Uncle Lee set it up yesterday, but I put it off because I got distracted reading those chat logs. I have to leave today. I cannot let his clean scent torture me like this. I need to sleep alone with my dignity intact. I plan like an adult. Goodbye. Stepping out of the bathroom, she looked up and shot a fierce glare right at me at the dining table. I was eating breakfast as the morning sun poured through the window, catching my profile and casting a heart-stopping glow. Do I really have to say goodbye? Vesper's heart fluttered, wondering if she would ever step inside this house again. I accidentally rescued a suicidal mafia princess, and somehow we even ended up sharing the exact same bed. We ate our breakfast in total silence before walking down the street together. Neither of us spoke, looking exactly like two bickering rivals. Autumn was already well underway, but the breeze had not yet turned chilly. Vesper looked up and saw a guy riding an orange electric scooter, carrying a girl with a ponytail, slowly cruising past us. The passenger girl wrapped her arms around his waist, her face lit with a bright, happy smile. Vesper suddenly froze right there. She tugged my sleeve and pointed at the couple. Look at that, what is wrong with them? I followed her gaze, totally confused. That is just an electric scooter. You should definitely buy one, Vesper said casually. I dismissed it, saying I did not need one. Yes, you do, Vesper asserted, leaving no room for debate. Go buy one. I could not help but laugh to myself. You say buy, so I just buy? Do you even know our current financial situation? I have a massive fortune of 40 yuan to my name, and you want a scooter? It is an electric scooter, not a cheap snack. It costs at least $2,000. Be realistic. But Vesper just stared at me with those gorgeous eyes. She looked just like a little kid staring at a toy in the mall. If I do not buy it, she will not move. Fine, fine, I will buy it. Just behave. Let us head to class first. Once I get some cash, I will buy it. We will have whatever the other kids have, all right? Vesper gave a tiny nod, looked down, and kept walking behind me. Deep down, she knew she was acting incredibly strange. What is wrong with me? I am not even staying at his house tonight, so why am I demanding he buy an electric scooter? Where is the logic in that? Even if he gets it, I cannot ride it, she thought, feeling completely annoyed. His chat logs with Loralie said he was saving up for an electric scooter to ride with her. Wait. Alarm bells started ringing in her head. Am I actually jealous? Vesper instantly panicked. No way, that is completely impossible. I am only looking out for him. His place is pretty far from the campus. Walking is just exhausting. He genuinely needs a ride. Yes, that is it. I only see him as a close friend. My conscience is totally clear. As we neared the school gates, Vesper tugged my sleeve once more. I find this habit of hers pretty weird. She always grabs my sleeve before speaking. It is like hitting the gas before putting the car in gear. Thank goodness it is fall. If it were summer, what would she even grab? My bare arm? My hair? I have some business to take care of, Vesper announced. I understood immediately. I will take my leave then. Let us head home together tonight. That is hard to say. I will text you once everything is sorted out. With that, Vesper turned and walked off. Her long legs made her stand out even from a massive distance. She was literally a walking landmark. I watched her leave, feeling a sudden twist of unease. Hard to say? Why would she say that? If you are not coming back to my apartment, where are you heading? Do you have a boyfriend? A sudden wave of jealousy hit me. Wait, what is happening to me? Am I actually jealous? I panicked. Come on, she can go wherever she wants. It is none of my business. I am not her personal bodyguard. Why am I trying to control her entire life? I shook my head, desperately trying to push the annoying thoughts away. Meanwhile, in the computer lab, Marn asked if Ronan was still missing. Marn scowled. The professor did say this specific project counts toward our final grade. Ronan is not going to ruin this for us, is he? He is always early. What is his deal today? What if he did not finish it? He surely got it done, right? Loralie stammered, her thoughts completely scrambled. He still has not replied to my texts. But knowing him, he definitely would have gotten the work done. Otherwise, I wouldn't have pulled off that voice changer Batman stunt. Honestly, it actually worked pretty well. Play hard to get, then act like a devoted puppy? Yeah, right, I am not buying it. Another 10 minutes ticked by. The classroom was filling up fast as the lecture was about to start. The second my roommates and I walked through the door, the girls from dorm 404 looked incredibly relieved. Sloane rushed over to me, dragging Laurel and the others along. She thrust her hand out and demanded we hand it over. Hand what over? I stared at her, completely baffled. Our dorm's computer science homework, Sloane said like it was obvious. Don't tell me you didn't do it. I froze for a second. Sloane, how much did you drink to get this wasted? When did I ever agree to do your homework? Hearing that, Sloane and the other girls looked shocked. They all turned their heads in perfect unison to stare straight at Laurel. Laurel panicked immediately, stammering that she had sent me a message. Sure, she sent a text, but did I actually agree? I just stared at her, speechless. Some people really live in a permanent fog. In the adult world, if someone does not explicitly say yes, it means no. Do you seriously not understand that basic concept? My opinion of Laurel was already at rock bottom, but now it was scraping the negatives. I did not even reply to you, Laurel. How did you manage to pin this entire mess on me? Laurel bit her lip tightly, looking like she was on the verge of tears. How can you be like this? I asked so nicely and even sent a sticker. What more do you want? I rolled my eyes immediately. Wow, unbelievable. Why don't you just call the cops then? Seeing the tension, Sloane stepped right between us to take charge. Ronan, Laurel already told you, so you have to take responsibility for our dorm's homework. Since there is a misunderstanding, just let us copy your homework. Come on, you guys are guys. Getting chewed out by the professor is no big deal. Dax instantly lost his mind. We are guys, so getting scolded is fine? Sloane, is your mouth connected to a baboon's rear end? Everything you say is garbage. Did the doctor accidentally cut your brain off along with your umbilical cord when you were born? Give you our work? We would literally deep fry our homework and eat it before we handed it over to you. Sloane's face flushed bright red from the humiliation, but she did not dare to fire back directly. After all, everyone knew Dax had absolutely no filter. If she kept pushing him, there was no telling what nasty things he would say next. But I was different. I was always the polite, clean-cut guy who never swore around girls. Usually, I was a total pushover. Dax, this does not concern you. I am talking to Ronan here. Why are you even interrupting? Sloane shoved Dax aside, put her hands on her hips, and barked at me. Ronan, so what if Laurel skipped your birthday party? Is it really that big of a deal? Just let it go. Honestly, it is a simple misunderstanding, and you did not lose anything. Are you really doing all this over homework? You have some nerve. Yeah, Marn chimed in, backing her up. She waved her hand self-righteously, completely ignoring the facts. Even if Laurel was wrong, she is still a girl. Why can't you be the bigger person? A grown man holding a petty grudge against a girl is just embarrassing. Just hand over the homework. Stop being so incredibly petty. Are you even a real man? So toxic. Both girls had incredibly loud voices. Once they got going, their shouting echoed through the entire classroom. Every single eye in the room turned to look at us. I just sighed. These self-righteous saints are unbelievable. If I do not do your work, I am the petty one? Great. Just great. Since you two are so incredibly generous, and though I never swear at girls, I think I need to give you some advice. I pointed right at them. Stop yapping your nonsense. Since you are both such saints, grab your IDs and buy a bullet train ticket to Sichuan. From Shuanglu Airport, catch a bus to Lashan, then take the Route 3 bus to the giant Buddha scenic area. When you arrive, tell the Buddha to move so the two of you can sit there instead. Then I pointed a finger at Laurel. Tell me, does your phone have an internet connection? Surprised, Laurel nodded, asking why. Go search for the video of Ding Chao looking for a job. Those are the exact words I have for you. I waved my hand, leading Dax and my roommates away. Seriously, I am not a pair of pants. Why should I deal with whatever trash you throw my way? You want our homework? Go to sleep, it is much faster. You can have whatever you want in your dreams. Watching us walk away, Sloane and Marn stomped their feet in pure rage. That was honestly worse than getting cursed out. Laurel, however, was completely lost. What did Ronan mean? Was he handing over the homework or not? And what on earth was that video? She wanted to run after me and demand answers, but the computer science professor walked in right then. The girls had no choice but to awkwardly head back to their seats. Still confused, Laurel opened her phone and searched for Deng Chao looking for a job. Sure enough, a clip popped up. So these are the words Ronan wanted to tell me. Laurel frowned and tapped the play button. Instantly, an angry voice echoed from the screen. Get lost. Sloane and the girls were dumbfounded. This was what Ronan wanted to tell Laurel. Loralie stood there, completely stunned. She gritted her teeth in disbelief, desperately trying to breathe and calm her racing thoughts. Ronan actually cursed at her. He never said a single harsh word to her before, but now he dared to curse at her. This felt like mutiny. She suddenly felt dizzy, all color rapidly draining from her lips. How did Ronan turn into this? Before, he was always so compliant. But now, he seemed genuinely annoyed. It was like he was looking at something completely obnoxious. Looking at the shoebox he was supposed to receive sitting next to her, Loralie felt her chest heave. She felt deeply wronged. All this time, she had been a kind, good girl. Even though she did not truly like Ronan, she had politely never fully rejected him. Instead, she kept giving him chances to get close to her, encouraging him to keep trying while giving him warmth and hope. Over the last few days, there was a misunderstanding, but she proactively messaged him. She even bought him basketball shoes, running all over the place to pick them up. But what did he do? He showed absolutely no gratitude, and even used a video call to curse at her. Does he not think he went way too far? While she quietly cried, Sloane rolled her eyes and said, Loralie, I think you should just invite young Master Sterling to your next criminal law class. Crush Ronan's massive arrogance. Once young Master Sterling shows up, Ronan will instantly revert to being pathetic. When that happens, he will definitely bow his head and come crawling back to beg you. Sloane spoke with absolute certainty and righteous anger. Hearing this, Marn's eyes lit up as she gave a huge thumbs up, but Faye was totally dumbfounded. Invite Sterling to take classes with Loralie? Wouldn't that basically announce to everyone that they are completely stuck together like glue? Right now, things between Loralie and Ronan had not hit the point of no return. If Loralie just apologized, maybe things could still go back to how they were. But if she followed Sloane's terrible advice and pulled this stunt, Ronan could not give Loralie a way out even if he wanted to. It would be final. People have pride. Faye looked at Sloane, completely speechless. What kind of crazy strategy is this? The fire is already burning, and instead of throwing water, you are just fanning the flames. But when Faye looked over, she found Loralie actually looking incredibly serious. She actually seemed to be seriously considering Sloane's wild suggestion. No way. You do not actually think this terrible idea works, do you? Sloane's advice is highly dangerous. Faye warned her this is just fanning the flames. Loralie, there is still time for you to bow your head. After all, you and Ronan grew up together. You have history. Take a step back. I really do not want to see you sad later. Faye possessed high emotional intelligence. She normally kept quiet, rarely voicing opposing opinions. Now, she was finally speaking her mind. But Loralie said nothing. She nervously wound her hair around her finger. The more she twisted, the more tangled her thoughts became. Was there really still time? Bowing just once could bring everything back to normal. She thought of all the missing good night and good morning texts lately. No food deliveries, and carrying those packages had nearly broken her legs. Thinking about those sweet gestures made her swallow hard. Life without Ronan paying attention to her was indeed pretty miserable. But then she wondered, what if she just bowed her head like that? Would Ronan start making tough demands, insisting she officially become his girlfriend? Who knows? Maybe he'd even stop her from chatting with Sterling. Would she still like him if he acted like that? Loralie did not have an answer. Ronan or Sterling? She felt she had never truly liked anyone. She was an independent, proud woman. After some struggle, she decided. Under Faye's expectant gaze, Loralie resolutely waved her hand. Me, bowing down to Ronan? Absolutely impossible. In all her life, Loralie had never bowed her head to anyone. The one who should bow is Ronan. She just wanted him to realize exactly how angry she was and how serious this situation had become. Opening WeChat, she clicked on Sterling's avatar and typed, "Are you free? Our department's criminal law class is very interesting. Do you want to join me for the next one?" Sterling immediately agreed. Soon, quiet whispers started rippling from the back rows of the classroom. Loralie changed boyfriends. He is not as handsome as Ronan, but who cares about looks? That guy is Sterling, a wealthy heir. Apparently, his family is in the energy sector. Energy means coal mines, so they are incredibly rich. Ronan really can't compete with that. His entire monthly budget wouldn't cover a single meal here. Sterling only has eyes for Laurel. Sterling proudly turned his head, casually flashing the Rolex on his wrist, feeling incredibly smug inside. Look at this. Today, Laurel actually invited me to attend class with her. This is it. I'm finally going to win her over. Pop the champagne. Sterling was completely full of himself, looking around with the arrogance of someone ruling the world. Laurel was pretty distant at first, and her annoying childhood friend Ronan made the chase incredibly exhausting. But now, the finish line is right there. 3 days max. And this law school beauty is mine. As for that Ronan guy, he's just a clown. Laurel, your department sure is packed today. Sterling smiled, leaning closer to Laurel. She gave a quick shrug and subconsciously backed away. She scanned the back rows, and her eyebrows instantly knitted together. She realized that neither I nor Dax was there. Laurel, who are you looking for? Sterling asked. No one, Laurel replied impatiently, her heart full of doubts. Class is starting, so where is Ronan? Her mind was a complete mess. Part of her desperately wanted me to see this and lose my mind, hoping I'd beg her to take me back. But on the flip side, she was deeply rattled by the constant gossip behind her back. Did everyone seriously think she and Sterling were a couple? No, absolutely not. She was an independent girl who didn't need any guy. Just then, Dax came sprinting in. The second Dax realized I'd saved a suicidal mafia princess and ended up sharing a bed with her. He rushed into the classroom like a maniac and collapsed next to Toby, looking completely devastated. Toby immediately nudged him, gestured towards Sterling at the front, and asked where Ronan was. Dax mumbled that he had things to do. Honestly, it's a good thing he skipped, Dax muttered distractedly because he really shouldn't see this. That was when Dax finally noticed Sterling sitting right next to Laurel. But his brain was completely fried by what he'd just witnessed. He didn't care about these low-level players. Dax was an Aquarius. Aquariuses have wild imaginations and accept the craziest things. Dax literally believes in Ultraman and the light. He would willingly send $50 to some online scammer claiming to be Qin Shi Huang just to buy a general rank. But his simp roommate shopping at a tenuan store with the campus ice goddess Vesper. Is this some kind of sci-fi plot that even Lu Cixin couldn't write? The thought made Dax dizzy. That absolute dog Ronan. Dax had actually felt bad for him, worrying he was heartbroken and wanting to introduce him to girls. Meanwhile, the guy was already out shopping with Vesper, even feeding her sweets directly from his hand. Unbelievable. It felt like your average country cousin suddenly marrying a Hollywood superstar. The guy worked way too hard. Guys hate seeing their bros struggle, but they hate seeing them succeed even more. And Ronan didn't just win, he bought a Rolls-Royce in cash. It made 0 sense. Noticing Dax's blank face, Toby asked if this meant Laurel and Sterling were officially together. Aren't you mad? Dax briefly looked up, stared for a second, and then looked back down. How could he care about that? The Vesper and Ronan situation was literally frying his CPU. Laurel and Sterling making it official? Let him announce it. He had absolutely no interest in keeping up with minor league games. If he was angry at all, it wasn't at Sterling. It was entirely directed at Ronan. It had been barely 2 days since the guy was rejected by Laurel. 2 days, just 2 days. You can't even download Black Myth Wukong in 2 days. Then Dax suddenly shuddered. That absolute dog. Could it be that in order to chase Vesper without distractions, he deliberately faked being rejected by Laurel? Just like Ling Hu Chong chasing Renaying in The Smiling Proud Wanderer, he pictured Ronan sobbing dramatically before Vesper, playing the victim. Dax clenched his fists. Ronan, you absolute animal. You don't deserve an ounce of sympathy. Dax wanted to ignore Sterling completely, but someone else refused to let the topic drop. Sloane turned around with a fake smile, her voice dripping with mockery. Hey, where is Ronan? Did you guys warn him to skip? As soon as she spoke, the whole room went quiet. Laurel pretended not to care, while subtly leaning in to listen. Sterling turned to face them as well. A smug look spread across his face. As expected, Ronan's roommates were all completely low class, but Ronan is still the worst. The ultimate king of clowns, Sterling sneered, chasing Laurel for 5 years only to get instantly overtaken by me. Chi. The classic simp who gives until he has nothing left. But the kid is pretty smart. Spotting trouble, he skipped class, so I guess I won't get to see him look like a beaten dog today. Sterling felt a tiny wave of pity. He just felt like this moment was missing a little perfection. By then, the teacher had already entered the room, with Faye trailing closely behind. She was usually the earliest one there. Faye hurriedly jogged in, sat next to Loralie, and stuck her tongue out that was close. She almost got marked late. What are you guys talking about? Sloane whispered, laughing as she explained they were joking about Ronan. He apparently could not handle the heat and skipped class. Hearing Ronan's name, Faye froze. Her hands paused as she went to set her book down. Honestly, the reason she was late was because she had run into me. And she did not just run into me. Looking at Sterling's smug face, Faye was completely shocked. She kept flashing back to what she had just witnessed. Faye had actually arrived early to print some computer science notes for her dorm. She had gone to a print shop just outside campus. Back then, this was a chore I always handled. Every time I printed things for my own room, I would print theirs, too. But since I was ignoring Loralie now, the chore fell to Faye. The print shop was connected to a genuine store next door. Faye was waiting for her prints when suddenly a guy next door asked the shopkeeper about some marshmallows. My voice was instantly recognizable to her. She felt super awkward because, out of everyone, she and I were closest. Sloane even joked that Faye and I were closer than me and Loralie. Whenever I helped them with homework, Loralie never replied on time, and I could not afford to wait. So, I would always text Faye directly instead. But with things so incredibly tense now, Faye had no idea how to face me. Honestly, in her eyes, this entire mess was completely Loralie's fault from day one. Someone treats you like gold for 5 straight years, and you take him completely for granted. Then, the moment he stops, you throw a massive tantrum. It made no sense. But as Loralie's roommate, Faye really did not have a place to defend me. Knowing that Sloane and the others were bringing Sterling to class just to start some major drama, Faye felt terrible. I, on the other hand, acted completely normal. I greeted her warmly and asked what she was printing. That only made her feel more guilty. Finally, she gathered her courage and told me I should probably skip our next criminal law class. I asked why, and she warned me that Loralie and the girls were planning trouble. Faye choked up, her chest tight, as she asked if I absolutely hated their entire dorm now. I just nodded. I told her I was definitely done with her roommates, but that did not include her. We had been friends for a year. I knew exactly how awful her roommates could be, but I also knew she was nothing like them. Business is business. My history with Loralie is wiped clean, but our friendship does not change. I flashed her a grin and told her not to worry, I was already planning on skipping class anyway. Faye let out a long breath, totally relieved as a wave of emotion hit her. She looked up and called my name. She started to confess that she hated how they acted, too, but suddenly a sweet voice called out from the genuine store next door. The girl was asking if she could eat a snack. Her voice was sweet, yet carried a distinct chill. That unique tone instantly made me move like a loyal knight summoned by his queen. I gave Faye a quick, apologetic look and darted back into the shop. Curious, she took a few steps and followed me inside. Peering through the glass, Faye gasped in pure disbelief. She knew that girl. Honestly, absolutely everyone on campus knew exactly who she was. This was Vesper, the undisputed campus beauty queen, a mysterious heiress, and the untouchable white lotus of every guy's midnight dreams. Faye just stared blankly, her eyes wide. Faye watched in utter shock as I grabbed a pink gummy from the shelf and gently popped it right into Vesper's mouth. I told her she could have that one, but warned her not to eat too many since they were full of artificial dye. Was this some kind of joke? Faye's mouth twitched as she realized I was literally feeding Vesper like a pet. Was I completely out of my mind? Didn't I know who she was? Vesper was the one person on campus you never messed with. Last year, some guy tried to confess, and when he got too close, his rose brushed her hand. 2 bodyguards immediately slammed him to the pavement and nearly snapped his arm. Faye began to spiral in absolute panic. She wanted to scream at me to pull my hand back, terrified that getting this close to Vesper would ruin my life. She wanted to scream it out loud. But just like that, Faye's voice died right in her throat. She saw Vesper lower her head. Just like a little kitten eating cat food, she narrowed her eyes, opened her pink lips, and obediently took the gummy from my hand. Suddenly, those eyes that were always so cold actually melted, overflowing with pure, joyful satisfaction. It is delicious. Her eyes lit up as she suggested buying some more. I want the pink ones, the orange ones, and the emerald green ones. Wait, Ronan, do they all taste the same? I just grinned. Yeah, they're the same. You really have never had cheap snacks before. See that rainbow marshmallow over there? That is the absolute king of artificial coloring. Huddled close together, the two of them kept picking out snacks like a couple. Wow. Faye suddenly felt her brain completely short-circuit. This entire scene? Was this real, or was she just hallucinating from low blood sugar? She stared blankly. Nearby, while I was looking away for a second, Vesper suddenly leaned in close right behind me. And then she took a deep sniff, wearing a look of absolute, blissful satisfaction. She was secretly smelling Ronan. Faye covered her mouth in shock, the feeding, the sniffing. With this level of intimacy, could it be? Are Ronan and Vesper actually already together? In that exact moment, Faye felt like her entire worldview had been run over by a tank. She could not help but feel a wave of pity. While Sloane and the others bragged about using Sterling to crush Ronan, Ronan had already won the absolute ultimate beauty. In her memory, Vesper shook her head as if trying to toss that absurd thought away. Faye snapped back to reality. She looked at Laurel right in front of her, then at Sterling chatting with Sloane nearby. Suddenly, she had no idea what to say. Laurel was still playing her part, but girl, you lost your audience a long time ago. Do whatever you want with Sterling. Ronan does not care anymore. Good luck. But Faye was not the type to just leave someone hanging. After thinking it over, she asked in a quiet voice, Laurel, has Ronan reached out to you lately? No, Laurel replied, still acting tough. She frowned, grumbling about what he even does all day. Is he just playing games to numb himself and waste time? Totally predictable, Faye thought, staying quiet. Laurel knew absolutely nothing about my actual life right now. Leaning closer, Faye whispered in her ear, Laurel, are you waiting for Ronan to crawl back? Laurel flatly replied, what else? He has some serious endurance. Laurel scoffed. It is hilarious he has gone this long without texting, but she did not care. Without his messages, she got some peace and quiet. He used to text her constantly every day, and it was honestly so annoying. Anyway, they would just wait it out, to see who caved first. She refused to believe she could not handle him, stating it flatly. With the way Ronan was acting, when he finally came crawling back to beg, she was going to give him a piece of her mind. Faye bit her bottom lip, asking a question in a quiet whisper only the two of them could hear. If he fell for someone else right now and they got together, would you really not be sad? Laurel sneered, asking who, making Faye hesitate. Vesper. Laurel's eyes widened, her expression freezing for a split second. Then, she just looked incredibly amused. Faye. Those two are from completely different worlds. How did you even link Ronan and Vesper together? She spoke a bit too loudly, and Sterling, who was chatting with Sloane nearby, overheard. Frowning, Sterling rolled his eyes. Putting Vesper's name in the same sentence as Ronan's was pure blasphemy. Ask any of these basic college kids who Vesper is, and they will call her their beauty queen. They would just go on and on about how gorgeous she is. To them, she was just another beautiful girl, an icy goddess who treats everyone equally by ignoring them. Somehow, that made them all feel strangely comfortable with her. They probably tell themselves that even if Vesper looks down on them, she looks down on everyone else, too. She looks down on everyone, which is perfect. And then, they occasionally talk big about chasing her. But to Sterling, that was absolutely hilarious. As a wealthy heir who knew the real story, he knew better. Let alone trying to date her, just being able to talk to Vesper without shaking was considered a huge win. The criminal law lecture dragged on, and for Laurel, every passing minute felt like sitting on pins and needles. She kept glancing at the door, waiting for that familiar, slightly slouched guy to rush in, panting and apologizing. But by the time the professor dismissed them, the doorway was still completely empty. Ronan had actually skipped class. Beside her, Sterling stood up, stretching lazily while flashing his expensive watch yet again. Looks like your childhood friend ran away with his tail between his legs. Smart. If he showed up, I would have made him realize the massive gap between us. Laurel forced a stiff, fake smile, but her heart felt inexplicably hollow inside. She grabbed her bag, tuning out Sloane's endless bragging about Sterling, and walked out. Faye followed in silence, her face a mix of pity and frustration. But the moment they stepped into the busy campus courtyard, a sudden, heavy silence fell over everyone. Students stopped dead in their tracks, eyes wide with shock. People whispered frantically, pointing toward the shaded path to the cafeteria. Is that Vesper? Who is the guy with her? He is incredibly handsome. Wait, are they sharing a drink? Am I dreaming? Sterling frowned, his arrogant smirk instantly hardening into tense, careful respect. Vesper is here. Laurel, back up, don't block her path. She is the kind of person you absolutely cannot afford to cross. But Laurel was frozen. She could only stare at the tall, striking guy walking right next to the legendary ice goddess. His short hair looked clean and sharp, his chiseled jaw catching the warm autumn sunlight. He held a cheap pink umbrella over Vesper to shield her, while his other hand casually carried a half-eaten bag of rainbow gummies. It was Ronan. He was not slouching. He was not staring anxiously at his phone anymore. Instead, he was laughing, looking down at Vesper with a bright, easy smile that Laurel had not seen in years. And Vesper, the terrifying, untouchable mafia princess, rumored to have broken a guy's arm just for getting too close, was leaning toward him, her icy eyes actually melting with a soft, docile warmth. She even tilted her head closer to his shoulder, almost as if she were breathing in his scent. Ronan? Sloane shrieked, shattering the silence. What? How is he with her? Sterling turned pale, the expensive Rolex on his wrist suddenly feeling like a cheap plastic toy. The guy he had been mocking all morning was now sharing candy with the one family in this city his wealthy parents told him never to cross. Fueled by sudden, burning jealousy and complete disbelief, Laurel completely lost her mind. She stormed forward, tearing herself away from Sterling. "Ronan," she screamed, her voice shaking. "What is the meaning of this?" Ronan stopped. He looked over, his warm smile vanishing instantly, replaced by a cold and completely flat indifference. He looked at Laurel like a stranger asking for directions. "I thought I made myself clear in my last message, Laurel," Ronan said flatly. "Unless someone died or got married, we have nothing to say. Did you come here to hand me a wedding invitation for you and Sterling?" Laurel turned bright red, tears filling her eyes. "You are doing this on purpose, are you not? You skipped class and got dressed up. You hired some girl to act with you just to make me jealous. Ronan, this is so childish. Apologize to me right now, and I will pretend this never happened." Before Ronan could even sigh at her massive delusion, the air around them seemed to drop below freezing. Vesper stepped forward. The soft, playful attitude she showed, Ronan vanished completely, replaced by the heavy, terrifying aura of a real mafia boss. Her beautiful, deadly eyes locked onto Laurel like a predator staring at a very noisy, very annoying insect. "So, you are Laurel?" Vesper asked, her voice sharp and lethal. Laurel took a step back, her heart hammering with sudden dread. "I am. Who are you to get between us? I am the one who read 200,000 words of pure garbage yesterday," Vesper sneered, stepping closer. "For 5 years, he treated you like a queen while you treated him like a dog. You soaked up his devotion while parading other guys around to feed your sad vanity. And now that he has finally thrown out the trash is trying to crawl back to his feet." "How dare you call me trash?" Laurel shrieked, turning back to Sterling for support. "Sterling, say something." But Sterling was already backing away, his face white with pure terror. "Shut up, Laurel, are you trying to get me killed?" He quickly bowed low to Vesper. "Miss Vesper, I'm so sorry. I have absolutely nothing to do with this girl. We just share a class. Please excuse me." Without another word, the wealthy coward turned and practically ran away, leaving Laurel completely stranded. Sloane and Marn were too terrified to even breathe, backing into the crowd. Only Faye sighed softly, shaking her head. Laurel stood there entirely alone as the brutal reality finally crushed her. Sterling did not care about her at all. He was just a coward playing a game. And Ronan was truly gone. She looked at him, tears pouring down her face. Finally dropping her pride, she sobbed, her voice cracking. "Ronan, please, I was wrong. I was just angry. I did not mean it. We have known each other since childhood. You promised you would always protect me. You cannot just leave me behind." Ronan looked at her tearful face, searching his heart for any remaining spark of love. He found absolutely nothing. No anger, no hatred, just total indifference. "I did protect you, Laurel, for 5 years," Ronan said quietly. "But I finally realized I was just protecting some illusion in my head. You are a completely free, independent person. You do not need my protection, and I do not need your condescension. We are even. Goodbye." He did not wait for her reply. He gently tapped Vesper on the shoulder. "Let us go. Dax is probably crying in the dorm because I did not bring him lunch." Vesper's icy glare vanished the instant she looked back at him. She nodded obediently, quickly falling into step beside him. As they walked away, leaving Loralie sobbing on the pavement, Vesper tugged at his sleeve. "What is it now, boss?" Ronan asked, offering her another pink gummy. "I changed my mind," Vesper said seriously, chewing the gummy. "You do not need to buy an electric scooter." "Oh, why the sudden change of heart?" "Because if you ride a scooter, you will sit in front, and I will sit in back. I will not be able to." She stopped, her cheeks suddenly flushing a soft shade of pink. She realized she had almost confessed to wanting to smell him all the time, so she quickly cleared her throat and looked away. "Anyway, walking is good for your health." Ronan chuckled, looking at the breathtaking girl beside him. The autumn breeze blew past, scattering golden leaves around them. "Hey, Vesper," Ronan suddenly said, looking ahead. "Remember that sealing our hearts with cement thing we agreed on yesterday?" Ronan rubbed the back of his neck, feeling unexpectedly nervous. "What happens if, hypothetically, the cement we used was of poor quality? Like maybe a tofu drag project? What if it cracks?" Vesper stopped walking, her beautiful eyes widening slightly as she looked up at him. Her heart, the one she thought had died along with her mother, was currently beating so fast, it felt like it might jump right out of her chest. She looked into his clear, sincere eyes, realizing that for the first time in her life, she was no longer afraid of the world as long as he was standing in it. A brilliant, breathtaking smile, one that could easily outshine the sun, bloomed on Vesper's face. "If it cracks," she said softly, reaching out to gently interlock her fingers with his, "then I guess we will just have to demolish it completely." Ronan looked down at their intertwined hands. A genuine smile spread across his face, and he squeezed her hand back. Sounds like a plan. As they walked down the sunlit path together, neither of them looked back. The past was dead. The sorrow was buried, and the future finally smelled just right.